10 most expensive items. Hey guys, Culture here. Today we're going to look at 10 of the most expensive items. More specifically, we'll discuss why these things cost so much and the people with enough money to buy them. One day it would be nice to be so rich that I can buy superfluous luxuries, but for now I'll just have to settle for describing them in list format. Number 1. The most expensive album ever sold is Once Upon a Time in Shaolin by the Wu-Tang Clan, an album which was only printed once. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Wu-Tang Clan is a hip-hop group from Staten Island, New York, who are cited by Rolling Stone as the best rap group ever. With 4 gold and platinum albums under their belt, it's hard to dispute this claim, and the group's eccentric personalities add a whole new dimension of intrigue that has cultivated a huge, loyal fan base. When the Wu-Tang Clan announced their plans to create just a single copy of the album in 2014, fans went wild. This was an attempt to elevate an album to the status of art, with exclusivity creating a hefty price tag. There were also a series of conditions, mainly that the album cannot be sold until 88 years after its release, since 8 is a special number in Chinese culture. The album sold to an American buyer named Martin Shkreli for just over $2 million. If the name Martin Shkreli sounds familiar, that's because he's Pharma Bro, the guy who hiked up prices of the AIDS drug Daraprim from $13.50 to $750. Just before being sent to jail for fraud, Shkreli sold the album on eBay for $1.2 million, breaking the conditions of his agreement. If you think all this stuff is nonsense, it's worth noting that at Shkreli's trial, some jurors had to step down because, quote, he disrespected the Wu-Tang. Number 2. The most expensive phone comes from luxury electronic goods designer Stuart Hughes, the iPhone 4S Elite Gold. This thing is ridiculous. The extravagance and opulence of this device makes me want to throw up Tanzanian emeralds from my jewel-encrusted gullet. Let me lay out the specs for you on this thing. The sides of the iPhone are made from rose gold with around 500 diamonds embedded in it, totaling over 100 carats. The site calls this the bezel, a word I didn't even know until I looked up this garish monstrosity. The back of the phone is 24 karat gold with a raised Apple logo embedded with 53 more diamonds. Finally, the front button is a single cut 8.6 carat diamond, which can be swapped out with a provided 7.4 carat pink diamond if the user so wishes. Of course, something this valuable needs a decadent box to keep it in. Luckily, Stuart Hughes has you covered. A platinum chest embedded with various cut precious stones, including opal, petersite, carorite, rutile quartz, and star sunstone will protect your iPhone 4S Elite Gold when not in use. Oh, and the chest also has polished T-Rex bone embedded in it, because at this point, why not? All of this could be yours for the low price of just £6 million or just over $8 million US. It's worth mentioning that there is a more expensive phone in existence, the iPhone 5 Black Diamond, which cost about £10 million or $13.5 million US, but this was specifically commissioned for Stuart Hughes by a Chinese businessman. Suddenly, $1,600 for an iPhone X doesn't sound so expensive anymore. Number 3. The most expensive piano in the world is the Crystal Piano made by Heinzmann & Co. You might remember the Crystal Piano from the opening ceremony of the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. Famous Chinese pianist Lang Lang played a melody from the Yellow River Cantata on the Crystal Piano, while 2,008 dancers wore glowing green suits and created fanciful images on the stadium floor. The piano itself is entirely made of crystal with a white tint to it, and is emblazoned with the symbol of the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. If you're anything like me, you might wonder what crystal actually is. Essentially, crystal in this context refers to crystal glass, more accurately called lead glass because it contains lead oxide. Essentially, the lead content just makes the glass look prettier. At auction, the Crystal Piano sold to an anonymous buyer for $3.22 million US. I should point out, however, that it's not the most expensive instrument in the world. That honor goes to a Stradivarius violin, which sold at auction in 2011 for $16 million US. Number 4. The most expensive dog collar, that's right, I said dog collar, is the Amour Amour by I Love Dog Diamonds. The collar is composed of crocodile leather and 18 karat white gold, adorned with 1,600 diamonds totaling 52 carats in a shape reminiscent of a chandelier. 3 teardrop-shaped sections feature larger diamonds, the centerpiece being a flawless 7 carat diamond. This little beauty will run you $3.2 million, but good luck buying it. The company that creates it seems to have disappeared off the face of the internet. However, that's just the most expensive collar. The most expensive dog accessory goes to the Royal Dog Tiara, created by Ruin Jirapolsek, which was worn for a dog show and cost $4.2 million. The tiara is made of titanium and embedded with both emeralds and diamonds. Don't get me wrong, I love animals, but if I'm buying a diamond encrusted tiara, then it's gonna be for me. Moving on. Number 5. The most expensive photograph in the world is the Rhine 2, taken by Andreas Gursky in 1999. Rhine 2 is the second in a set of 6 pictures depicting the Rhine River, which runs from the Swiss Alps through Germany and the Netherlands. Now I'll admit, when I first looked at this picture I didn't really get the hype about it, but it grew on me. Something about its apparent simplicity keeps you looking. The fact that the grey sky, which is devoid of any significant detail, takes up half of the picture should, by all photography conventions, make this a bad picture. But instead it holds my attention. The simple horizontal geometry of alternating grey and green slabs with differing textures is beautiful. It hints at the expanse of the river that continues outside the frame. Artsy-fartsy critique aside, the picture isn't as simple as it seems. Gursky has digitally removed a factory and dog walker from the image to get at the underlying contemporaneity of the modern river. I know that sounds kind of wanky, but what he really means is that he didn't want a picturesque view of the Rhine, but rather a realistic view, which he achieved using digital editing. Okay, yeah, I don't get it either. More importantly, a lot of the picture's value comes from how rare it is, its huge size, 3 meters wide, and the prestige associated with Gursky's name. That's why at Christie's auction house in New York in 2011, the piece went to an anonymous buyer for $4.3 million. Number 6. The most expensive shoes ever are a bejeweled version of the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. The 1939 movie was one of the earliest full-feature films to make use of Technicolor technology. In the book, Dorothy wore silver slippers, but these were changed to ruby slippers so that the vibrant colour could be shown off. Of course, these weren't actually inlaid with real rubies. The effect was achieved by using red sequins. 4 versions of the shoes used on the actual set of the movie are still around today, and fetch a pretty penny each, up to $2 million. When 1989 came around, the movie's 50th anniversary, famous jeweler Ronald Winston of Winston's Jewelers decided to design actual ruby slippers. These ruby slippers used 4,600 rubies, totaling over 1,350 carats, with 50 carats of diamonds for accent. No wonder the Wicked Witch of the West wanted those shoes from her sister's corpse. This pair costs $3 million. You might have read online that the only person to wear these slippers was Judy Garland, Dorothy herself. However, I highly doubt that, considering Garland passed away in 1969, and people usually don't like to exhume bodies just to put fancy shoes on them. Number 7. The Physical Impossibility of Death in the Mind of Someone Living is the title of a work of art created by Damien Hirst. The work is a 4.2 meter tiger shark preserved in a see-through box filled with 16,504 litres of formaldehyde. Damien Hirst himself is a contemporary conceptual artist who emerged with the Young British Artist movement in 1988. In 1991, businessman and art gallery owner Charles Saatchi commissioned Hirst to produce any work he wanted, backing Hirst's creative vision with his own money. The work itself, as mentioned in its verbose name, is about facing one's own mortality. The primal fear of coming up against the black expanse of a shark's mouth certainly drills this message home, and its placement in galleries invades a space we usually expect to be removed from the natural world. Ironically, the shark inside the tank has decayed and been replaced over the years, showing that all things must perish inevitably. The work was exhibited in Saatchi's personal gallery before being sold for $12 million. Whilst it was for a time exhibited in the Met and the Tate Modern, it is no longer on public display. Number 8. The next item's kind of a weird one, more of a concept than an object: the publishing rights to celebrity photos. These prices can go sky high when there are celebrity couples having babies, and that's why the most expensive photo rights ever were for Vivian Marshallin and Knox Leon, the twin children of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. The joint rights went to People magazine in the US and Hello magazine in the UK for the price of $14 million. A picture taken of the parents with their 2 newborns and 4 previous children was the most famous of the photo shoot. Keep in mind the most expensive rights before this was just $6 million for Jennifer Lopez's kids. Nothing to sneeze at, but nowhere near the Pitt-Jolie price tag. Plus, this wasn't the first time these two had earned back their maternity fees with photo rights. People magazine paid $2 million for their third adopted child, Pax Tien, and $4 million for their first biological child, Shiloh Nouvelle. Please don't tell Crash about this. He'll start popping out babies left, right, and center if he thinks he can make a quick buck. Number 9. The most expensive book ever is the Codex Leicester, a notebook kept by Leonardo da Vinci between 1506 and 1510. The notebook documents various thoughts and theories concerning planetary phenomena, water movement, and geology that were far ahead of his time. As you can imagine, the notebook of such an innovative and radical thinker is highly desired by many modern polymaths and entrepreneurs. Past owners include Armand Hammer and Thomas Cook, who was the Earl of Leicestershire, hence the name of the book. In 1994, the Codex Leicestershire was bought at auction by Microsoft founder Bill Gates for almost $31 million. That's $52 million when adjusted for inflation. Over the course of its existence, the collection of scientific notes has been renamed, bound, unbound, made into a screensaver, and loaned out for display in museums around the world. The whole book was written in archaic Italian and using mirror text, meaning the words were written backwards and right to left, so Gates also had to hire a translator for the work. It took 7 years to translate. 7 years! If I paid that much for a 72-page book, I'd want to read it straight away. Number 10. We've saved a big one for last. The most expensive car in the world is the Ferrari 250 GTO. The 250 GTO was designed in a collaborative effort, so no single creator can be named, but chief engineers on the project include Giotto Bizzarini and Mauro Foghieri. GTO stands for Gran Turismo Omologato, or Grand Touring Homologated. Homologation is the approval process cars must undergo to race in certain events, an appropriate name since the 250 GTO was built to compete with the Jaguar E-Type in GT races. In 2013, the 250 GTO broke previous records when an anonymous buyer purchased one from collector Paul Pappalardo for $52 million. So yes, it's a Ferrari, and yes, it's an amazing racing car. But why was this car so valuable? 2 reasons. Firstly, only 39 250 GTOs were ever made. To race in the Group 3 Grand Tour racing event, regulations stated there need to be 100 productions of the car, but Enzo Ferrari covered this up by using false chassis numbers to imply cars were made that didn't actually exist. In other words, he literally did that prank where you release 3 pigs and number them 1, 2, and 4, so that everyone thinks 3 is still missing. When the FIA authorities came to confirm all 100 cars, he just moved them around so that the inspectors counted the same cars multiple times. And, just to really add to the irony, remember that he named the car Homologated, despite knowing that the car should be banned from racing based on this rule. Secondly, this particular car was chassis number 5111, the same car that won the 1963 Tour de France automobile race. So add Ferrari, exclusivity, and championship pedigree, and apparently you get a car worth $52 million. I'll most likely only ever be able to dream of owning something as unnecessarily expensive as the items on this list. But it's fun to learn what all the successful businessmen, and criminals, are buying with their cash. See you all next week. If you enjoy what we do here at Culture Crash, please consider supporting the show via our Patreon, where we have a bunch of awesome rewards, or by checking out our online store. All links are in the description below.